We are with Christopher Arps, and let's talk narrative management, because isn't that one of the largest problems is that there is this preconditioning, and then there's this demonization of you if you step outside of the box. And there are so many people that have sort of planted their flag in the ground and picked a team, right? Their team television, their team narrative.
Oh yeah, well we've seen that for years now. ABC, CBS, NBC. I mean, they are basically cheerleaders for the Democratic Party. And I talk about this often on my radio show now. I am a big fan of the Sunday talking head shows. I watch them religiously because I love politics and because, it's part of what I do. But there has been a trend now, and two of the anchors that do it the most is Margaret Brennan of CBS News and Kristen Welker of NBC News. Ever since the Trump era, a lot of these anchors, a lot of these moderators feel that they need to fact check Republican politicians and Donald Trump in particular in real time. And, I don't particularly have a problem with that, only if they only did it to the Democrats. It only seems to go one side. And to me, when the mainstream media does that, they feel that they are doing a service to us because Republicans and Donald Trump lie so much that they have to filter his lies to us. But they really don't understand that you're basically telling the American people that they are stupid and they're too dumb and that we're going to tell you what your eyes saw. It's insulting, but in this era of they have Trump derangement syndrome, they feel that they must save us from Donald Trump and his quote unquote lies.
Well, I used to say they treat us like children, but I don't even think they treat us that well. And you talked about the fact checking, so let's get into that because I think that that is extremely quote unquote problematic. I hate to even use that terminology, but when he's talking about, let's say, the Haitian immigrants eating pets. Now, it just so happened, I think that day I had seen the body cam footage of the one woman with the cat, and then I had seen two other videos on the peripheral. When the guy says to him, when Trump responds, I saw it on television, and he goes, we're not talking about what you saw on television. We've contacted the official, and he says there's no credible evidence of the reports. It just struck me as like over the top, inverted, post-truth world, because you got a guy sitting up there that makes his living telling lies on television, telling you now that television is no longer a relevant media. You didn't see that. The official says it doesn't exist. Not only is it beyond Orwellian, it also harkens back to the days, I'd say, 15 years ago, when you tell somebody you saw a video on a website and they say, oh, you saw it on the internet, it can't be real. These people have no shame.
Yeah, and I think what we're seeing here, we see the mayor of Springfield, Ohio, who has said that these are quote unquote baseless accusations. You see the governor, DeWine, Republican, saying the same things. I think what you're seeing is just a politically correct world where you don't want to look like you're saying anything negative against quote unquote immigrants, especially immigrants that are black, have darker skin, that they're afraid of being called a racist. So they automatically say that these accusations are baseless. Look, I don't know how accurate these accusations are, but Senator Vance's constituents have been contacting him, telling him that pets have been missing. I think a more something that probably is more probable with these pets missing, if they are missing. I don't know if the Haitian immigrants are so much eating them, but I've heard on the internet someone of Haitian descent saying that these animals may be being taken to be sacrificed for religious rituals that they have there in Haiti. So it's not so much like they're eating them. I think it's more plausible that they could be for voodoo rituals or something.
Even more pleasant. So let's talk about some pleasantries here. We've got the second assassination attempt on Trump. This time around, almost the same thing, only that one at least was live on television. And, call me a kooky conspiracy theorist. I think the point was to do it on television. But I think it's gone beyond that now. I think they'll take it any way they can get it. This guy has to be extremely careful. But when I first see it in the media, it's shots fired near the golf course, right? It took 2 or 3 headlines to even acknowledge that this was, in fact, an assassination attempt on this guy. It's still not being treated as seriously as it should, especially in this country, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that? Because the more I look at how this is being handled, I don't want to call it an inevitability that they're going to get this guy. But I think at this point, it's an inevitability that before January, one way or the other, if he wins in November, before January, they at least try again. And you have another assassination attempt on this guy.
I think I will cut, and I usually don't do this. I think I will cut the media some slack in the initial reporting of the shots of the president on the golf course. I'm sure that's a fast moving story. You want to make sure that you have all your facts and all your ducks lined up in a row before you put out that story. So I will cut them a little slack on that. But I think this time around, you're not seeing as much sympathy for Donald Trump being possibly almost assassinated. And even the liberals in the media have said this, is that there's a different tone. During the first assassination attempt, Trump was very reflective. They felt that he wanted to bring conciliation to the country. We need to come together. They didn't see that the second time around. So I think that's why they are displaying less loyalty. But, a former senator who was on my radio show yesterday said, look, he's got every right to be kind of pissed off. He's been shot at twice. He's had all of these different lawsuits, lawfare against him. I think the man has a right to be a little ticked off and not kissing the mainstream media and others who want him to turn the other cheek and be conciliatory.
No, I would have. I don't think he's mad enough. I mean, again, you see what's happened. His wife had to come out and do like a 20-second ad asking questions about the first assassination attempt, and that has been completely ignored by the mainstream media. This is really a nightmare for the mainstream media. This guy that they've caught because he's pro-Ukrainian war. He did that interview with Newsweek. He's clearly a lunatic. I mean, he literally dyed his hair the colors of Ukraine. What do you think happens? I know a lot of people don't like to get into predictions. Is this going to be too big to rig? And if so, I mean, we have Donald Trump supposedly being sworn in January if he can get past November, but then he's also got the sentencing of the trial in New York. So what are your thoughts?
Look, this is a very close race. As I said, I think Donald Trump is ahead by a few points, but it's going to come down to 6 or 7 swing states. Probably about 200,000 or 300,000 people are going to determine this election. What frightens me the most about Kamala Harris, and those of us who watch her, consistently and have watched her the last 4 years, know that she doesn't have a lot of depth to her, that she's not really prepared to become president of the United States. But I'm fearful that these next 6 weeks or whatever, that if she can show some type of competency to the American people, that she can take that 3 a.m. call and become president. I'm afraid that she could become president of the United States without taking a single question from the media on why she is flip-flopped on the positions that she has taken or on other issues. That's what frightens me. I'm also frightened, as I said, that if we don't know who the president-elect is on election night before we go to bed, I'm afraid of a repeat of 2020. We've seen since Donald Trump has become president that there is a real deep state. We've seen the text messages from the CIA agents, the FBI agents plotting against Trump. We know that they detest this man and they will do anything to keep him from power. And I would not be surprised if we see some shenanigans on election night and in the days afterwards. I've said this many times on my radio show now. The liberals that are in power now, they are very strong in what they believe, and they are basically hiding in plain sight and don't try to hide who they are anymore.
Christopher Arps, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a quick break. We've got more TNT after this.